SwitchBot have come a long way since their first product burst onto the smart home market with a tiny little robot arm that tickled me pink. It didn't literally tickle me, that's perverse. And if you're waiting for a cutaway gag, I'm not going to show you one. Pervert. And these tiny little robot arms have proven very useful during the COVID pandemic to prove to our bosses that we're definitely working from home. Definitely. Not. I was asleep. But aside from fooling middle management and turning light switches on with their hilarious little fingers, they surprised me for a second time with a smart home choo-choo train. Now, SwitchBot have released 3 new products that are entirely unique from anything else I've seen in the smart home industry so far. And whilst this might look like an ordinary door sensor, just like their fingerbot, it fills a hole that no other product will. Go on then, put a comment in about SwitchBot fingering my hole. Child.
Sponsorship cancelled. Sponsorship cancelled. Sponsorship.
Thanks to SwitchBot for sponsoring today's video and for sending me their camera, their door sensor, and their motion sensor. Each of these products is sensibly priced, well built, but most importantly, brings something brand new to the table. These products have all taken home automation a step further than any of their competition. And this video is 3 things that you can do with SwitchBot products that you can't do with any other smart home product yet. First up is their 1080p camera. It has all the usual features of a smart home camera. It can send motion-based alerts, record to an SD card, has the option for cloud storage, has 2-way talk functionality, IR night vision, and has human detection and motion detection zones built in too. But that's not what's exciting. What's exciting is how well it will monitor Paul Jr. Wah. Wah. Interesting fact, my son was born with a fully developed set of adult teeth and a very manly deep voice. This is the first camera that I have seen that will automatically load the feed on your Echo Show. You don't have to ask for it. If it detects motion, it will automatically put it on the screen.
Paul Jr. has had another nightmare that Philips Hue have become competitive.
Wah. Oh, go to sleep, baby Paul. Philips will never release a competitively priced product. That's the Zigbee. Oh, the Zigbee. Oh, the Zigbee. And this is a massive deal, because this is something that people ask me for all of the time. And this is achieved using an Amazon routine that simply says, if motion is detected, then speak a phrase from the specified device and then load the camera feed. But that's nothing compared to the other amazing thing it can do. It is the first device that I have seen so far that can handle 2-way talk through the Echo Show. I can speak through my Echo Show speaker to Paul Jr. and Paul Jr. will hear me. It's okay, baby Paul. Daddy's here. Such a bundle of joy. But how good is that? That's the best thing ever. It doesn't end here though. SwitchBot's scene functionality is super powerful, and you can control all of the most important functions of this camera using scenes. You could have the camera go into privacy mode on a schedule so that it was only viewable at certain times of the night, or you could have it generate notifications when you're out of the house.
Suppose it just knows that you left the house by magic, does it? Or a bit. Idiot.
It knows you've left the house because of SwitchBot's next stroke of genius. This door sensor knows when you've left the house! Twice in one episode. Made my head grow back as well. This is the most advanced door sensor on the market. This door sensor isn't just a door sensor, it's a motion sensor, a light sensor, and a button. And there are 2 modes you can use to tell it when you're leaving home. You can either press the button as you leave, or you can use the other mode where it just knows. It knows you left the house because if it detects the door was opened and then closed and then there's no motion, it knows you went out of the door. If it detects the door was opened and then closed and then there is motion, it knows that you came through the door into the house. No other smart home door sensor is anywhere near this level of genius. This is the ultimate door sensor. On top of the motion sensor and the contact sensor, it also has an ambient light sensor, and all of them can be used to create automations. You could create an automation that automatically started the baby monitor, but only if it's dark in the room and as you've closed the door behind you, and only if there has been no motion for 5 minutes. I mean, I could put a third head explosion in this video. He's gonna do a bloody third head explosion! He does every week, he does the same stupid jokes! I won't be surprised when he brings up that bloody sock puppet! Don't mess with Mr. Socky. He'll come to your house. The door sensor can also be used to trigger automations via if this then that, which means that you could use it to trigger practically any third-party smart home gear. And as much as I hate if this then that, this is a really handy addition. And finally, a smart home motion sensor that won't be triggered by your pets. And this works in a really simple way. It's only monitoring this field of vision. So, unless your dog's 6 foot tall, it's not going to trigger it.
All a burglar's got to do is crouch down then, is it? Genius.
If your burglar realizes where the motion sensor is and decides, oh, that looks like a SwitchBot motion sensor, I'll crouch down, and then crawls around your house to rob you, then yes, it won't work. But if you don't have pets, you can just move this thing to a different height and it will catch every piece of activity anyway. The motion sensor can be mounted using either screws or a sticky pad, or simply by magnetizing it to something metal. And this is yet another motion sensor from SwitchBot that not only detects motion, but also detects ambient light, which means you could have this motion sensor trigger your lights, but only if it's dark. Shall I make my head explode again? Another head explosion would be lovely. Thank you. Thank you for your kind permission. I want to. And finally, the motion sensor and the camera are both capable of triggering Amazon routines if there is motion, but also if there is not motion. If there is no motion detected for 5 minutes, for example, you could have it automatically switch the lights off in a room. And whilst I have seen this on other third-party products, this is the first one I've seen that can do it whilst not detecting your dog. There's nothing wrong with any of this, though there are some areas for improvement. The camera, for example, will only detect motion. It cannot detect audio. And when you're talking about something that is being primarily used, I think, by the general public as a baby monitor, it really could do with audio as well as motion detection. Wow! I'm hoping that SwitchBot will improve this in a firmware update, and if they do, I shall update the description to let you know. Secondly, you'll need to buy their hub for almost all of this very cool functionality. There are some simple basic things you can do without the hub, but the hub is kind of a requirement. This is always the case with anything that is battery operated. If something uses batteries, it really needs a hub, and SwitchBot's hub is required in this case. And finally, it would be nice to see SwitchBot release official integration for both Apple HomeKit and for Home Assistant. Home Assistant! You can utilize some of the functionality, although it's very limited, using either HomeBridge if you wanted to use it with Apple, or by using the community-written integration for Home Assistant in the case of Home Assistant. But as I said, functionality is limited, and I'd really like to see SwitchBot move into both of these areas officially. All of the 3 devices that I've mentioned today can interact with one another. You can create scenes that will do practically anything using one device as a trigger and the other device as the endpoint. But more importantly, each of these devices has at least some way of communicating with she that should not be named to trigger routines there too. And this means that you can achieve my favorite ever automation by having the motion sensor keep an eye out for burglars.
There's a wanker in the dining room. Get down there and stove his head in.
The if this then that functionality means that you can trigger practically any third-party device too, and I found that it works almost instantaneously for my Toya Smart Life gear. I can use the motion sensor to trigger my Smart Life lights in a very, very short time frame. And if you're not a fan of if this then that, then I've heard a rumor that SwitchBot might be working with Matter in the future. Matter. What's the matter, you? Hey! Why you looking so sad? Hey! What's the matter, you? Hey! Your smart home is so bad. Google and Amazon are here to save the day.
The smart home industry is absolutely f***ing terrible, and everybody in it's a greedy especially Jeff Bezos.
Mr. Socky, they're not the words. These devices are a massive step forward in home automation, and SwitchBot have kind of left the competition behind now. I don't think I will ever be buying a different door sensor now that I have one that can monitor both light and motion and knows when I've left the house. This is a huge leap forward, and if you're interested in it, there are links in the description as to where you can pick one up. I've just realised I've got the same t-shirt as that jerk on. It's weird. Seamless. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. That will tell YouTube's algorithms it was a good video and more people should see it. If you want to see some more of this guy, hit that subscribe button and ding that bell. If you ding the bell, it lets YouTube know that you want to be notified when I upload videos. These incredible people here are my patrons from Patreon. Every week I'm like, oh, they're so good. It's because they are so good. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't still be doing this for a living. I would have given up. I would have stuck with a day job. If you want to be one of those incredible people, you can do that at either Patreon or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I will genuinely love you forever. These are my Facebooks and my Twitters and my Instagrams. Come and hang out there, and we can be best friends. See you next time. Wow. This is weird. What if people keep calling me a clown? I need a stuntman. I'm 40. Or even by simply magnetizing it to something that is magnetizable. Or by using the community written integration for Home Assistant. But unfortunately, that's not a word. Best thing ever! Falling off and not destroying the Echo Show is very difficult. It's heavy. I smashed myself in the face with it.